everyone, welcome to the first episode of Battleship Tech. I'm Dave, the Battleship Tech guy, and on this episode we're going to talk about the building of our mobile streaming studio, or what we call the VCube. We built this device so that we could bring you video from deep inside the bowels of Battleship Iowa, and we've already done our first live stream with it last week from Aft AMR, which was a space I worked in as a young kid when I served on board the ship. We're really excited about the potential that this has. We still have a few bugs to work out in terms of audio synchronizing and timing, but beyond that, we think that it was a great success and we look forward to using this in the future. This is a device that will take multiple inputs from multiple cameras and multiple audio sources and allow a live producer to switch between scenes and to bring in additional content to provide a rich experience to our viewers. It'll also support remote locations and remote reporters. So again, super excited about what this represents. We built it in-house like we do most of our tech. We did it on a shoestring, and now we want to share that journey with you. Thanks for coming along, and let's get right to it. There's actually a couple problems that we ran into. Live streaming is complicated. There are lots of things that need to talk to each other. You need an audio solution, you need a camera, possibly more than one camera, you need to be able to share video. There are all kinds of inputs that need to be mixed together, and then you need some sort of production software. In our case, we use OBS Studio. Just building a good live streaming setup takes people a lot of time. I've stolen some of these pictures off of the internet to demonstrate some of the live stream setups that are out there, and also some of the cable disasters that can be found when you try to set something like this up. When you add the complexity of making something portable, it became really clear that we could not be setting up a live stream portably in the ship somewhere every week. We needed something that we could just pick up and go, and that's where the concept of the VCube or the live stream studio came in. We started with an 8U rolling equipment case. We found that the 8U case fit all of the equipment that we needed while still being small enough to fit easily through the passageways. We then added subsystems for sound mixing, audio in-ear monitoring, wireless stage-grade microphones, wireless camera video ingestion, network switching, a wireless access point, the actual streaming computer, and power management. In the near future, we'll actually be adding a router to the mix to provide MAC-validated DHCP to a private wireless network for the cameras. This will help solve a nagging problem we've been having with audio sync. More on that in a few minutes. Of course, we had to add some sort of keyboard and monitor solution. Originally, we used an old Dell server head, but we found that it was not HD, and that was not optimal for producing video for live streaming. So we finally went with the solution pictured here. This is a rack-mountable HD head, which meets our needs completely. And here's the completed product, our mobile live stream studio, or what we call the VCube. A little bit of a technical note here. I've always been told don't make excuses, so this isn't an excuse. But when I was filming the build for this episode, I was learning an awful lot about setting up cameras and learning how the GoPro worked and learning how my SLR worked and learning a lot about microphones and sound and lighting. And unfortunately, we lost a ton of video and a lot of audio. So I don't have everything I wanted to show during the build, but I do have some of it, and that's what we're going to show here. Hey guys, it's Dave Canfield, the Battleship Tech guy. I'm here with my lovely assistant, Jonathan, who happens to also be my son, and today's project we're going to put together a video production cube, which will work with OBS Studio to allow us to have multiple people with multiple cameras and multiple audio sources, all doing a live stream produced by a human producer. So we're going to go through each individual component. We're going to start with this case. This is a DJ LED case. This is an 8-unit case. It is a rolling case, so it makes our production studio portable. It's got the cool handle that you can pull up and roll. And this is what we're going to do our build in. So we'll start by taking the edges off here and getting it ready to build. Set those aside. And while you take that off, I'm going to get out our brand new high definition head, if you will, for the monitor and keyboard that we're going to use. Now, a lot of people would wonder, why don't you just use a laptop on here? And the answer is because a laptop is useful elsewhere, and I don't want people pirating my gear out of this cube, first of all. And second of all, it allows me to swap out components without having to deal with the individual graphics cards and things that I don't have a lot of use for on the laptop. Now, interestingly enough, I'm just going to throw that on the ground over there, like the shop is already messy. I have not taken this out of the box before. As you can see, I just opened the box. This is an upgrade from our test kit, in that when we first started this and we built the prototype, we used a recovered server head, the keyboard and monitor, and it only was 4x3. It was old school VGA. And OBS will not give you a canvas bigger than the display on the machine that it's working on, so even though it's capable of streaming in HD, it wouldn't let me do it unless I had an HD head on it. So we went ahead and upgraded that. Now, I have been told that this fits in a 17-inch case, of which this is a 17-inch case. But as you can see, it really doesn't, which I'm not surprised with at all, which means that we are going to have to do a little bit of modification in order to make it work for us. And that modification, always a little challenging, but we're going to make it work for us. All right, the next pieces that we're going to put together are the back of the case. Now, one of the things that we need to do is we need network, because you have a number of pieces in here that need to both talk to each other and they need to talk to the network. We're going to be using this as a live stream cube. So what we have here is just a standard Netscape. This is a ProSafe 24 port dumb hub. It doesn't do VLAN, it's not managed, it's pretty cheap. It did come with a rack mount kit, which was one of my requirements. And we're just going to mount this guy right up here underneath. Probably should have a power driver with screws, Phillips. Okay, come on now. Okay. And there you go. You can just zip those in and then the two in the top. And now we'll get our next piece. Next piece that we're going to put in place is power management and power. So this is just a cheap power distribution unit that's rack mountable. And it's basically a surge suppressor with 19-inch rails. This is something I'm going to use to put some wallboard power onto the back of. So when I mount this, it will go inside and it will give me some outlets on the back of this power strip. We're using a 3M double-sided tape. This stuff sucks, kind of. Don't buy anything less than the strongest stuff that they sell. The 5-pound stuff is kind of worthless. And we're going to put an entire strip of this on. Now when you use this tape, there is always a trick to it. One of them is let it sit exposed a little bit and let the salt evaporate. It will make it more tacky and it will make it more likely to stick. So we get in a hurry, we throw this stuff on there and then it falls apart and we get upset. Letting it sit for several minutes, which I'm probably impatient enough myself to not do, will help it get pretty tacky. It is pretty tacky that I cut it long. Just get that kind of the right size there. All right, then stick it on whatever you're sticking and hold it on flat surface for about 30 seconds because that's going to help it bond. And then we're going to go through, it's like 7 seconds, but we're going to go through the same thing that we did before. We're going to take the backing off of it. You know that you've let it sit long enough when the corner of the tape does not come up with the backing. And we're going to let that sit for a few minutes in the air. And then we are going to press that onto the back of this. And then once we mount this, we'll get it threaded into place. All right. Waiting is the hardest part of anything. We're going to say that that's been long enough, even though it probably hasn't been. And again, we're just going to put this guy's on that side. About in the middle because I'm indecisive. It feels pretty good. We're going to put this in the bottom. This is power. We can't do anything without power. And so we're just going to mount this guy up in the bottom. I'll let you get that. Next piece we're going to put in the back. This is just a standard 1U cable management. This is going to let us hide some of the cables inside and control how we plug stuff into this front panel or rear panel. So this is just going to sit right in there just like that. The next piece that we're going to put in is this. Now this is something that we've developed in-house at the ship and that Jonathan has helped me manufacture here. This is a front panel. So we're going to unplug and it will go on the front. Now this piece right here, this is 2 Raspberry Pis and a Spark Fun kit. And basically what we have is, this is live power and this is switched power, and it's switched via the internals. It allows us to shut the Raspberry Pis down and control them in a way that is predictable. The Raspberry Pis are kind of the magic to making this kit work, because what we're doing is we're using the Raspberry Pis as an RTMP server, which will allow us to take a GoPro or another RTMP direct streaming source, take it to the Raspberry, let the Raspberry ingest the video and audio signals from that camera device, and then offload those to our actual streaming server, so that our PC that is doing the streaming is not encumbered by having to process all of the signals from the various incoming videos sources. So in the tests that we've done, these are Pi 4s. Each one of these could support 4 to 8 cameras, which gives us, anywhere from 8 to 16 cameras that we can have with this. When I rebuilt this is just a 6-inch shelf. It's a piece of plate that we cut and attached to the shelf, and then we use standoffs to mount these. These are Decora outlets, and we picked these because they have the USB on them. And so what we're going to be able to do is route the power directly to these Raspberry Pis without having to have a wall-board transformer on them. And so we're going to do that next. So I have 3 items here that will require power. I have the Spark itself, and then I have each of the Raspberry Pis. Raspberry Pis I want on the switched side. The Spark I want on the permanent side, because the Spark is what is driving the switching of the power, so it doesn't make much sense for me to try to power that Spark from something that it is switching all by itself. So let's set this unit aside for just a minute and spin this around. Look at that beautiful front panel that my son just put on there. That's nice. It needs to be bent in place. So that's the power button. That's actually what's going to talk to those Raspberry Pis. Power available, and system status LEDs there that'll tell us what's going on with that. In the meantime, our unit still slides out. That beautiful keyboard on there with our custom manufactured brackets. It says I really want to take that off. Jonathan's been asking me to take the plastic off all the time, and I keep telling him no, wait. All right, so now we're at the front. Now the next piece of equipment that we're gonna put in here is part of the real magic that makes this work. This piece of equipment is a I think it's pronounced Tuga, T-U-G-A. Probably got some sort of weird pronunciation like Tuga, but whatever. It's a Tuga. It's an in-ear stage monitor. So it talks to these little belt devices, and this would go on there, and a standard set of earbuds plugs in there. What this will allow us to do is it will allow us to have each participant in the video have the entire video's audio in their ear, no matter where the other participants are. I'm wearing this little mic right here, which I probably just thumped on the video. This can be fed into the audio system so that as a presenter, that audio gets fed in there. Well, it gets fed into the ear of every other presenter, every other person. And that's part of the magic that makes this work. And so we're going to just set these out, that we would call that horizontal polarization, right? Because otherwise they're not going to fit. And we're going to mount this guy right underneath here. The next piece, which is going to go in the bottom. So this was manufactured on board the Battleship, this clever little drawer. If you buy a sliding drawer, they're quite expensive. And we do not like quite expensive. So we bought this set of rails on Amazon for about $5. We bought the shelf for about $12. And then we took this piece of aluminum and we just sized it to fit and put it on there. So that gives us a sliding drawer for about 1/10 of the cost of buying a sliding drawer. It's rack mountable. And this is our, again, this is a Tugga brand. This is a PC-based soundboard, and this is where we're going to bring our microphones into for final mix. And then the output of that is going to end up on the stream. So that's what we're going to feed the stream audio with, is this soundboard. So this gives our producer the ability to be working here and to have access to the microphones and the soundboard while they're working. The final piece on the front is just a shelf. And on that shelf, we put 2 pieces of equipment on the shelf. We've actually pre-mounted these. On this shelf right here, we have a, this is a Intel Nook. This is really not a terribly beefy machine, but again, since we've offloaded most of our effort, most of our work is being done by the Raspberry Pis instead of by this. This is just our streaming machine. And so that's actually a Core i5. It's got a ton of memory in it, but it's not a terribly beefy machine. This is a Shure microphone receiver, and it will use either a wireless handheld microphone like this or a body pack, which will take any number of head-mounted microphones or lavaliers like I'm using now. So that's a standard Shure body pack with the standard 3-pin. So this gives us the ability to bring 2 wireless microphone sources in that are contained inside here. And then if we use another wireless setup like I'm using with the lavalier here, that will pick up here as well. And so that gives us 4 inputs right there. So now that we have that at the front built, we're going to turn around and finish that back with that one piece of equipment that we put into the back. Unfortunately, that's about where we lost the rest of the video and any kind of usable audio on the build, but we were just about done other than the boring bits of internal wiring. The pictures here show the final product. The real power of this product is in its ability to ingest multiple camera sources from different areas, be that in a single space, as we did in the Off to Auxiliary Machinery Room video, or even from different spaces, as was done recently by our educational team, who had the need to cut from a conference or classroom setting to the flight deck in order to talk about the Hub helicopter restoration. By not only having the remote camera, but also the in-ear monitor, the remote actors can all hear what's going on in the stream and can therefore coordinate their actions with each other, the producer, and even the audience. Earlier in the video, I spoke about some timing issues we were having between audio and video. As it turns out, having multiple wireless devices attached to the same access point that the cameras are using causes a lag in the cameras, which is unpredictable. I believe a viable solution to this would be to create a private MAC-validated wireless network used only by the cameras. This would keep devices from connecting and disconnecting from the wireless cell, and it would make the camera delay predictable. Audio could then be synced using audio delay filters in the OBS software. We'll be testing this solution on our next live stream, which will be from Forward Auxiliary Machinery Room another space where I spent countless hours when serving aboard Iowa in the 1980s. I want to give a special shout out to a couple of people on our innovation and engineering team, affectionately known as the IET. A special thanks to Forrest Hippensteel, who did most of the development work and all of the testing on the video ingestion system. Also thanks to Moran Fengler, who dealt with on-again, off-again testing, and without whom I could not have pulled off the aft AMR shoot. To Troy Vail, the self-proclaimed #1 minion of the IET, for establishing wired and wireless networks in the target spaces, and for helping me move the cube about the ship. And I cannot forget my son, Jonathan Canfield, who of course you saw in the video, helping me do the actual build on the cube. And finally, thank you to the entire crew of Battleship Iowa, from the ops team to the admin staff and all areas in between, without whom none of what we do would be possible. If what we do with Battleship Tech interests you and you would like to consider being part of our team, please think about volunteering. Information is available under the Get Involved link on our website. We hope that you enjoyed this video. I plan on doing a lot more of these, highlighting the technology that we're building and using at the National Museum of the Surface Navy aboard Battleship Iowa. I'm Dave, the Battleship Tech guy, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Battleship Tech.